watching gear at the office. Oh yeah. MasterGir demo Singen.
Hey everyone. I'm kind of just sitting here enjoying this music, honestly.
Wahoo.
Wahoo! Whoa! 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 Whoa. I need to be careful. I forget how much noise transfers into this mic on this desk. What kind of garbage is that? Oops, my anarchy symbol. Oh! Oh my god. Holy shit. Oh, it's so funky. Oh my god. Whoa! Ooh, funny.
We're grooving today.
Oh, we grooving. Crank it down. Just take it down a notch. Here. Alright. Well, I don't need to really drag this out much more. We can go ahead and just move right over here. Hello? There we go. Why was it? It was down in that little box. All right. Whoa, okay. All right. Here's your tier list right out of the gate. Although, let me pause this real quick. I'm just gonna do some tier lists. You know, nothing crazy. Although before I do the tier list, I did want to show you something real quick. Oh, classic. Love that video.
Go with many blessings.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Hold on, let me put the music back on. And also, let me put this on the screen. There. The train's a little bit hectic. Hold on. There you go. All right. So let's see. Let me zoom in a little bit more here. All right, now I can see this a little bit better. So let's see. What we have here is McDonald's. I bring that up because I have McDonald's. So, first on the list that I'm gonna check here, where is it? We got cheeseburger. Cheeseburger. Let me try cheeseburger here, see if I like it. Hold on. A little dry. Oh, fuck yes. Here's the good one. I love this track. So it's a little bit dry. So if you were to, it doesn't compare to a real like cheeseburger, but I mean it's edible. I put this on a solid B. Yeah, cheeseburger is a B. Now let me go down the list proper here. Bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. Oh. For the train. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's good. All right. Bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. The biscuits are always kind of dry. Not a fan, but bacon, egg, and cheese is good. So that's what holds it up into B. Hash browns, A. Their hash browns are good. Oh, I need a tier for like I just have never had it. All right, how about never had? All right. Yeah, there we go. I've never eaten a fruit and maple oatmeal bowl from McDonald's. I don't know why the fuck I'd ever do that. Big Mac. Honestly, C. There's just a little bit too much in there. Quarter pounder with cheese. I'll give that a solid A. Double quarter pounder with cheese. Again, that's one of those things that's a little bit too much. You got a little too much food in there. Quarter pounder with cheese deluxe. Quarter pounder with cheese deluxe used to be my go-to sandwich at McDonald's. Quarter pounder cheese deluxe used to be my go-to sandwich at McDonald's until, and this has become universal now that I live on the opposite side of the country.
MasterGir rule dance, MasterGir banana dance.
Thank you. But they started putting just a quart of fucking mayonnaise on it. It is drowning in mayonnaise. It is the sloppiest piece of shit sandwich I've ever had in my life. And it ruins it. So I have to put this in a D. Also, the tomato they use for some reason is like squishy and sloppy and bad. The tomato on it has always kind of sucked. But now it's just way worse with all the mayo. It's a beef McSloppy. McDouble. McDouble's good. You can't go wrong with a good old McDouble. Quarter pounder with cheese and bacon. I'd say C only because fast food bacon is kind of shit. Unless it's on a breakfast sandwich. Double cheeseburger. That's that's also a solid B. Egg McMuffin. Egg McMuffin. I'd also put that in B. Hamburger, C because it's really plain. J Balvin, fuck off. Four-piece chicken McNuggets. I want to say B because of value, because you could just spend the extra little bit of money for a 6-piece and it's a better value. In fact, wait, what? They only have the 4-piece in here to represent all chicken nuggets. There you go. No, I rate that a little too highly. I love the chicken nuggets, but they've gotten a little bit worse over the last few years, I think, personally. Buttermilk crispy chicken sandwich. I've never had the buttermilk one, but I have had a McChicken, and McChicken is also... You're gonna notice McDonald's is a solid B tier fast food restaurant, and I think that's what you expect from McDonald's. So fillet of fish, never had, never will. I've never had a McFlurry. I've never had their hot fudge sundae, but I imagine it's probably fine. A soft serve, that's an A.
Are S tier.
Did McDonald's do spicy nuggets? When did they do spicy nuggets? What? I'm not getting Discord notifications, no. What are you talking about? Yeah, I have no Discord notifications. You're hearing that. You're all hearing shit. Stop gaslighting each other. Anyway, they were mid? Oh, that sounds about right for McDonald's, though. Anyway, yeah, because I like a good spicy nugget. Wendy's had... I don't know if they still have them, but Wendy's did spicy nuggets at one point. They were pretty good. It's like the only thing I liked from Wendy's. Oh, the yeah was about spicy nuggets. Bad timing. Anyway, chocolate shake. I think chocolate shakes are mediocre. Vanilla shake. I'd rather have a vanilla shake over a chocolate shake personally. Strawberry shake. Boom. Sausage McMuffin. Again, the muffin is kind of, but it's all right. Haven't had their sundaes. Haven't had the McFlurry. Baked apple pie. It's okay. I've never eaten a cookie from there. Hamburger Happy Meal. I haven't had a hamburger Happy Meal in like a decade. So I don't know how to rate that. I'm gonna give it a D. I'm gonna just give the Happy Meals a D because I haven't eaten them in so long. Apple slices? I don't eat apple slices from fucking McDonald's. Small world famous fries. Are they called world famous fries? I don't think I've ever seen them labeled that way. Personally, I think the small is a bad deal. But the fries from McDonald's are hard to kind of place on a tier list. McDonald's fries are sometimes, if you go to a McDonald's on the right day at the right time, they go here. You go to a McDonald's on a bad day at a bad time, they go here. So they're so fucking variable that I'll just put them as B, as like a safety zone. You can go there and they're like already cold. There's not a fucking grain of salt on it. They're dry. They're fucking a sopping wet mess. Or you can go and it's like picture perfect, nice and crisp, or the slightly soggy that are actually pretty good, but nicely salted, you know, nice and warm, or piping hot even. And then, like I said, they go up to S tier, but it's so fucking variable that it's not even funny. Sausage McMuffin with egg. I'm gonna actually put that right up there. Right, yeah, that's good. Strawberry smoothie. I've never had a smoothie. Never had a smoothie. Their hot chocolate is okay. Sausage biscuit. It's just way too dry. I put it way the fuck down there. With egg, it's much better, but it's still just so dry. I'd even put it below those. Hey, they don't have the fucking McGriddle in here. This list is missing the McGriddle. I've never had the bagel. I've never had their big breakfast or their hotcakes or the sausage burrito. Huh. This lines up pretty well for McDonald's. Now that I look at it as a whole, nothing at McDonald's is gonna fucking floor me, but also nothing at McDonald's is like nauseatingly disgusting, horrible fucking trash. Usually, you might go there on a bad day, but in general, yeah, it's all mediocre. It's food. You can eat it. Is it food? Let me check. Let me double check. Did I get food? Hold on. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, that's food. Yeah, I can eat that. McDonald's pancakes are so bad. I could believe that. Ugh. My sweet tea is just down to ice water. Ugh. All right. What's next? What do we got? Didn't we already hear this? I'm gonna skip it. Oh, here we go. All right. Soda. Oh, goodness. There's a lot more soda on here than I thought there'd be. As usual, at a row below. Never had. All right. So let's see. I've never had this, or 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 this. I don't drink diet. I've never had cherry Coke. I've never had that, or this, or that. I mean, I've tasted this, but I've tasted it. I like had a sip of one once. I don't drink orange. I don't drink that. I've had that actually. No, it's been so long I don't remember it. I don't drink diet. Don't drink diet. Where that belongs. Don't drink diet. Don't drink diet. Nope. 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 I've never even heard of diet right. Diet. Diet. Diet soda's fucking foul. Did you just say no to me putting Diet Coke in F? Goof? You better... You're... I'm not even... Alright, look. Normally, I try to be understanding of people's opinions. You're fucking stupid. If you like Diet Coke, you are fucking stupid. I'm sorry. It's just a fact. You were born wrong. If you like Diet Coke, you're fucking stupid. This shit is fucking disgusting. It is fucking horrible. You were born wrong. The horrible, putrid fucking artificial sweetener taste that doesn't leave your goddamn mouth after you take a sip. That awful saccharine taste, it's just nauseating. Get fucked. I'm sorry you're like this. Anyway, I hate orange. I've never had Faygo. Never ever had Fresca. Never had Mellow Yellow.
Great help, thank you.
They hated Jesus because he told them the truth.
Thank you. I'm gonna leave this one for a minute. Okay. I've never had this. Nah. Nah. Oh, there's a lot of soda I don't drink. Diet. Well, basically diet. Never had Sundrop. I don't drink orange. I've never had Surge. Okay, now I have. Oh, there's a lot. Jesus. Okay. So let's go down the list here. Let me put Mountain Dew Baja Blast down there for a minute. So 7-Up. 7-Up, I put that as a solid B. It's good. I don't actively seek it out very often. Sprite, I would put above. I actually enjoy Sprite quite a bit. Cream soda, I will put as a high B, because cream soda is good, but I am also aware that I'm basically drinking myself into a sugar death. Root beer, A&W root beer especially, A tier. Barks, I honestly think is just as good. What is this, Canada Dry Cranberry? That's B, pretty good. Canada Dry in general, B, pretty good. Caffeine-free Coke, that's like a D. Regular Coke, like a mid. Huh? What? Hold up. Wait a minute. I must be going too fast. I'm getting like a lot of, Hold up. Barks red cream soda. I've never had red cream soda. I'd like to try it though. Alright. If you don't like root beer, I'm sorry. I really don't understand what you don't like about it. Well, maybe I can kind of see it. I personally love root beer. Root beer is one of my favorite types of soda. But, I mean, you know, you're entitled to your opinion. But if you like Diet Coke, go fuck yourself. It doesn't taste like licorice. If you're drinking root beer that tastes like licorice, you're drinking like sarsaparilla. There's a difference. There's like a huge difference. There is like A&W Barks ass like regular basic bitch root beer, and then there's the Rudy like more authentic sarsaparilla or birch beer type drinks. I can kind of see the licorice taste coming from it. Trust me, because I fucking despise licorice. So, I mean, I know, like, I love Dr. Pepper, but I do know some people who think Dr. Pepper tastes like medicine. I think they're wrong, but I can kind of see where they're coming from. In fact, you know, while we're at it, throw that up there. Is this Vanilla Coke? Vanilla Coke's pretty good. Grape Crush. I'd say another B tier. I want to say A tier is a soda that I will actively seek out. B tier is a soda that I will drink but won't usually actively seek out. C is you've handed it to me, so I'm like, well, I guess I'll drink it. D is, oh shit, we're out of everything else. F is you couldn't pay me to drink it. Let's get those tiers out of the way. S is obviously like I will go out of my way to get it. Cherry Dr. Pepper, I actually have not had, come to think of it. Grape Fanta. Actually, Grape Fanta is better than Grape Crush. You know what? Grape Crush is actually kind of shitty, now that I think about it, compared to Fanta. Pineapple Fanta, that's like D tier. Strawberry, yeah. Code Red, yeah. If I'm like at a function and that's what they have, then I guess that's what I'm drinking. Oh, that's diet. I don't like Mountain Dew at all. Actually, I would much rather drink a Mountain Dew over a Diet Coke, but I fucking hate Mountain Dew. You hate grape flavoring so much it's unreal. I can see, you know, I'm aware that grape, like artificial grape, is not very good, but it's one of those things where I just barely do like it, you know? But yeah, Mountain Dew is pretty fucking bad. Mug, I'm like one of the few people on Earth that you hand me any one of these and I'll like it just as well as the other. Some people are like, oh, this one's way better than this one. You know, fuck that one. This one's way... I don't care. Root beer is root beer. I like it. This one is like, okay. I can equate it this way. A&W, good balance of flavor and like carbonation. Barks, very good flavor. Harsh carbonation. Mug, mediocre flavor, very smooth. So, it really depends on what you like out of the soda. You know what I mean? Barks is like, you can feel the like carbonation dissolving your tongue, whereas Mug is just like drinking foam. It's really nice. And then yeah, A&W is a good balance of both. Mug is at D, it's got no kick. God damn. I really don't mind Mug so much. I know a lot of people kind of think Mug sucks, but I honestly don't mind it. Barks has caffeine too. Does Barks have caffeine? Huh. I didn't know that. That's like the only caffeinated root beer. Crystal Pepsi? Honestly, I actually really like Crystal Pepsi. Something about it, I don't know. There's something about it that I really like, especially more than regular Pepsi. Regular Pepsi, that's like... I don't know. High C. Pepsi is usually if I go to a restaurant and they're like... I'll say like, I'd like a cola, and they go... Or I'll say like, do you have Coke or Pepsi? And they say Pepsi, and I'll go, oh, I guess I'll get Pepsi. Is that it for music? Nope, there's one more track. What flavor is Crystal Pepsi? It's Pepsi, but slightly different. It's got less of a cola taste and more of like just kind of a sugary water kind of taste, but I honestly think it's good. I think without the coloring in it, there is some sort of minor flavor change, but I think it is mostly just a psychological thing. Less caramel flavor? Maybe. It might honestly have less caramel flavor because there's no caramel coloring as well. I really have no idea. Thank you, by the way. Cherry 7-Up. Oh, wait, yeah, that's right. Pepsi with real sugar. This is better than regular Pepsi, but I still would not really seek that out. Vanilla Pepsi is actually pretty bad. I think the vanilla in it has, again, that weird fake artificial taste to it. Nowhere near vanilla Coke. Nowhere near it. Pepsi with fake sugar. It's Pepsi with, well, let me get a can of soda here to find the word that I'm looking to. High fructose corn syrup. Yeah, regular Pepsi is corn syrup. This is just actual cane sugar. RC Cola. It's all right. Again, it's not really something I would seek out purposely, but if it's there, I'm gonna drink it. Sierra Mist. This is a last resort. This is definitely this is all they had at the restaurant type soda. Squirt. Have I ever had? I don't think I've ever actually had Squirt. Never mind. Squirt. Sun-Kissed Grape. Yeah, about here. Better than the Fanta one. Sunkissed Strawberry. Worse than grape, but I would still drink it. And then Mountain Dew Baja Blast. Oh, I lost it. Now, where do you think I'm putting this? I really don't like Baja Blast. I really don't like Baja Blast. I'm sorry. That's the one that I know I have to get put on a cross for. I really hate Baja Blast. It's better than Mountain Dew. And it's better than Diet Coke. But I fucking do not like it. Actually, you know what? Thinking about it, no, it doesn't deserve F. Come to think of it. Maybe not F tier, but it is like the last thing on this list I would purposely drink.
Hey, you!
I agree.
No, that wasn't peer pressure. Thank you. That wasn't peer pressure. That was me, like, thinking about F tier, that soda's an F tier, comparing the idea of drinking any of those and going, if I had to drink regular Mountain Dew or Diet Coke or Baja Blast, I would way much prefer drinking a Baja Blast. But compared to literally any other soda above it, Baja Blast is going into the fucking toilet. Every single time, without fail, from multiple restaurants, I've had Baja Blast and it seriously tastes like cleaner, like cleaning fluid. Like something they would wash a toilet with or something. It's not good. That's the Taco Bell cleaner. Get the cans. Okay, if I find a can of Baja Blast, I will try it again. And if it still tastes like shit, then in my heart, that's going back down into F tier. I will let people know. I haven't seen Baja Blast in a can in like 2 years. But if I see it in a can again, I will tell people. I know people want me to like it because I'm the only person like anybody knows that doesn't like it. By the way, don't tell Wayne, but pretend, I don't know, pretend this is Polar. It goes down here, even below Diet Coke. Don't clip it. Don't clip that. I'm not taking that to Congress. That's not getting brought up at Congress. That is not getting brought up at Congress. The only way that would get brought up at Congress is if somebody sent that to Wayne. Don't fucking do that. Anyway. Oh, I ran out of music. Here, let's get some more. Ugh. I kind of don't want to listen to lo-fi. Lo-fi honestly just reminds me of really mediocre VR chat worlds with like 2 people in it that are AFK. I don't really care for lo-fi. How about... This should be good. What is it with VR chat and lo-fi? Is it just because lo-fi is popular now? Because I feel like anytime I do go into a VR chat world, that's like 9 times out of 10, the music playing in the world is some fucking mediocre lo-fi. I really don't like lo-fi. It's not like bad, it's just like... It's like more annoying elevator music. It can be good, but a lot of it can be boring. I think that's a good way to put it. I would legitimately prefer if somebody put on an elevator music playlist than put on lo-fi. That's just me. If I had a choice, I would prefer some jazz. I like jazz. I like jazz and shit like that. Shout out to all the jazz. I'm an old man. Yeah. Look, I'm not even at 30 yet. I turned 29 this year, but my old man tendencies are shining through like no one's business.
MasterGir happy.
A little bit, yeah. Oh, no, I'd say I'm pretty happy. World's youngest old man. No, look, okay. I have seen, like, I want to say, like, 4 or 5-year-olds at stores. These are, like, this is, like, a kid that has been raised by their grandparents, so they get old person tendencies. I have seen small children acting like old people because of who they've been around. There are younger old people than me. He was like in like little overalls and like it was funny. It was a little speech pattern. It was funny. Anyway, UK chocolate bars. That's not gonna work. Fruit complete. A complete list of fruit. Oh boy. I guess I can rate fruit real quick. Are these blackberries? No, what are these? That's not raspberries. Oh, it is raspberries. There's raspberries. Let's go up there. Dates. What the fuck is happening with the... Alright, whatever. I don't really like dates. Dates are like... It really depends. There are black raspberries. I'm pretty sure I have a black raspberry bush growing outside. Cantaloupe is fucking terrible. Are these lemons? Who's just eating straight up lemons? I mean, I like them, but... I don't like orange. But it feels unfair to put it in F. I don't like orange. I don't like orange, but it's also not, like, repulsive to me is the thing. It's just not a really good flavor to me. Honeydew and cantaloupe, in fact, let me get that in there. They both suck in flavor and texture. Fuck them. I've never had dragon fruit. It's a golden delicious. Put that up there. Granny Smith, put that up there. Regular red apple, put that in F. Plantains, never had. Apricots, I really don't like. What the fuck are these? I have no idea what that is. Bananas, solid B tier. B for banana.
That was great help, thank you.
And you.
These are black currants. Never had them. A word? Oh, lychee? Like, I don't know how to pronounce it. Lychee? Is it lychee? I think it's lychee. I don't remember. I've never had them. Coconut. I like coconut, but I will put it in B because it is too hard to manage. Lychee. 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 Okay, it's lychee. I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know what the fuck that is. Cherries. Cherries are good, but I also do not actively seek them out, really. Star fruit, never had it. Oh, here's the raspberries. Those were black raspberries. I've never actually had a black raspberry, but I can imagine it tastes roughly the same. See, grapefruit. I know I like grapefruit flavored things, but I could not tell you the last time I had a grapefruit. So I think that warrants a C. Blueberries, I love a blueberry. Blackberry is good. I don't remember if I've had when the last time I had kiwi was, so I have to put it down there. Limes, same tier as that. This is just the citrus tier. Kiwi good. I know I have things that have kiwi flavoring in it, and I like kiwi flavoring, but again, like the taste and experience of a real kiwi, could not fucking tell you. B for banana, C for citrus. You're fucking right. D for date. F for fuck these melons. Wait. Let me rephrase that. F for fuck, I do not like the taste of these melons. What in-mouth disease? Anyway. Watermelon, A. Watermelon, A. Is this papaya? No, that's not papaya. Or is it? What is this? Is this papaya? Yeah? Guava? Oh, maybe it's guava. See, yeah, I didn't think it was papaya. No, papaya's got like a hard...
Watermelon.
Or does... I can't remember. It's been so long. I don't know what that is. I don't really like those. Pears. I actually really do not like pears. I've never actually eaten a real pomegranate. It's passion fruit. Okay. Grapes are alright. It really depends. I like pineapple as well. Go, drop it. Actually, let me put pineapple in like a high B. Are these the grapes that get turned into raisins? Or are we talking actual just raisins? Or oh no, cranberries. These are cranberries. Yeah, cranberries are good. I don't know what that is. This is just all grapes. All grapes go here. Actually, green grapes I don't like as much. These are plums. I don't really like any stone fruit now that I'm really looking at it. I'm not a fan. These are sausages. And that's mango. So here you go. Is this a fair list? I think, let me make some adjustments. I think I would rather have a Golden Delicious over a Granny Smith. Over, yeah. Plums are your favorite? Sorry, that's your favorite, not mine. Whose fucking list is this? Where the Fuji apple's at? Yeah, see, that's the thing, is this is like a very bare bones. Black currants are banned in America? Huh. They must grow too easily here. Not anymore? Oh, they used to cause a tree disease. Fuji's slightly too soft. Yeah, I just... Schlot. Fries tier list? How do you figure? Oh, okay. Here we go. All right. This is a chart that was meant for me. Curly fries. Cheese. Okay. Cheese. All right. Cheese one is hard to rate. First off, curly fries, you can't beat them. They're fucking delicious. Second of all, cheese fries. If it is real cheese, those go up here. If it's that fucking stupid, gross ass fake nacho sauce bullshit, goes down here. So it really depends on what the fuck you're putting on these fries. For all intents and purposes, I'll put them here on the assumption that it's real cheese. Okay? Cottage fries. Those just look like thick cut, like wavy fries. I'll put them in mid because I've never actually had those. Standard cut, you can't beat them. Shoestring matchstick, I love those. I actually just bought a whole can of those. Actually, I'll put them in high. Waffle fries, also high. Steak, if they've got a good seasoning on them, that's what the kicker is. But generally, it's a little too thick and more just too potatoey. Not that there's anything wrong with the potato taste, but if I'm just eating chunk of potato with no good seasoning on it, really detracts. Belgian fries, there you go. In fact, put them up above standard cut. Chili cheese fries. Now, see, you're putting too much shit on there at that point. Sweet potato fries. Really depends on where they're being made, you know. Garlic fries. I really love a good garlic fry. Tater tots. Those are mediocre. Chips British. You know why they're down there. Crinkle cut, those also belong down there. Potato wedges. Potato wedges also really depend on where you're getting them from. Potato wedges can be fucking delicious if they're from a restaurant that makes them really well, has a good seasoning on them. But they can also just be really shitty chunks of potato. So I have to put potato wedges in mid. I'm not shitting on potato tots. They're in mid tier. They're okay. The hash browns from McDonald's. Listen, the hash browns from McDonald's are a thin layer of tater tot, but a regular tater tot is like a bomb of like hot grease and potato. There's a difference. It's about the amount that you're getting all at once. A regular tater tot I would put below the hash browns from McDonald's, just because the McDonald's one is a better form. It's a preferred form for me. Yeah, just because it's all potato doesn't mean it's all the same. Look at this list. Look at this list. Really, at the end of the day, like, potatoes are just fucking incredible, and it's hard to just make something really bad with them. What else we got? Best pizza toppings? I'll take a look at that. Alright. Who the fuck is putting outright steak on their fucking pizza? That's really wasting the steak more than anything. Don't put broccoli on your fucking pizza. Don't put fucking corn on your pizza. Don't put eggplant on there. I hate mushrooms, so that's a me problem. What else is terrible? I can't tell what this is. I don't know what this is, so it's going down here. I'm gonna say spinach or something. No, fuck mushrooms. No, 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 no. Fuck mushrooms. Mushrooms are fucking horrible. Alright, if it's good, listen, okay. Spinach can be on the pizza if it's fresh, regular, like, actual leaves of spinach. Like, regular spinach leaves. If it's, like, some dried out shit from a can, then just throw away the whole thing. You've already ruined it. Canned spinach is foul. Fresh spinach is okay. Bacon on a pizza, it really depends. Sometimes you can get good bacon on there. Sometimes you get shit that's just like chewy fat, and that's a texture thing for me. I fucking can't stand getting something that's like chewing on like an eraser on my fucking pizza. I like bell pepper. That's probably Parmesan, so I'll put that on the great stuff. Tomato. Honest, I like tomato on a lot of things, but pizza is where I start to draw the line because it kind of just gets soggy. Where's anchovy? Nobody really puts anchovy on the pizza. That's just something monsters do. They made that up for cartoons. Alright, and now let's all grow the fuck up for a minute. Stop being, little stupid fucking meme lords. Pineapple and ham pizza is not that bad. It's fine. You're being a fucking contrarian if you're trying to be like, it's so bad. It's like just epically bad. Grow the fuck up. Grow up. Get real. It's fine. It's fine. It's not that big a deal. Is it S tier super mega fucking delicious? No. But if somebody hands me a fucking ham and pineapple pizza slice, I'm not gonna be like, ew, ugh. I'm gonna go, oh, pizza, and fucking eat it and enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. If you don't like it because you don't like pineapple, you get a pass because you just don't like pineapple. But the fucking, like, stupid fucking meme, pineapple on the pizza fucking instantly ruins it. I'm, like, so fucking over that. I am so fucking over it. The joke is dead and done. It's gone. People can grow up now. Or if you don't like ham, which I generally don't really like ham. It's just on the pizza. It's usually pretty alright. Because it's kind of just, it's that thin, like, bacon-esque ham. So that's okay. It's been dead for literal years. I honestly still see it. I honestly still see it now and then. And it depends on the ham. It depends on how big the pineapple chunks are. It depends on if it's from a good pizza place. Any of this always varies from place to place. You can get ham that's nice and, like, it's good texture, good quality, it's kind of crispy, blah, blah, blah. Or you can bite into it and it's like biting into a piece of fucking, like, shoe leather. So again, it varies. Chicken on pizza, that also is kind of, really depends. No, I put it so-so. It depends pretty hard. Is that fucking artificial crab meat? Are you Are you fucking insane? No. That's a hard pass. Jalapenos, that's good. Olives, alright. Black olives on pizza? Absolutely. My go-to is pepperoni and black olive. That's my favorite pizza. Green olives? That's a little too harsh. That's too harsh. So I'll put that up here because I like the black olives. It's just, it's salty and umami. What do you want? All olives go to hell? You go to hell, you fucking idiot. Black olives are fine. That's another thing. I'm like the only person on earth that fucking likes black olives. I am a black olive defender, goddammit. There's nothing wrong with them. They are umami bombs. They are fine. Olives are so disturbing. Why are they disturbing? Black olives are fine, guys. They're okay. It's fine. Whoever said they're disturbing, I think you've got a deeper problem with them that you need to discuss with a therapist, I think. You pick them off? I pick off mushrooms, not black olives. It's only in the last few years I've realized how hard of a line there is between people who like black olives and who hate black olives. I don't see very many people that say, yeah, they're okay. You know, no strong feeling one way or the other. That black olives are something that people either fucking love or fucking hate. Is there anybody in the chat right now that's just like meh on them? So I really want to know. All right, that's 2. That's like 3. It's like 4 people. All right. And now, if I say, do you fucking hate black olives? I want you to tell me in the chat right now. Okay, see, that was instantly way more. See, that was instantly way more. You wanna, I could just do a poll. Hold on. All right, I'm gonna do a poll real quick because I'm like fascinated. All right, new poll. Do you like black olives? Yes, no, meh, never had. All right. I'll give this, what, a minute. You got a minute. All right. Let's vote on this poll here. All right. Do you like black olives? Yes is winning. There's actually more yeses. You haters are starting to look like real damn fools right now. Hello. Haters are a loud minority. Aren't they always? The haters are always the vocal minority. Fuck the haters. Look at that shit. Fuck the haters. Fuck the haters. Go to hell. There's more people that like them, have never had them, or do not mind than outright dislike them. Fuck the haters. Olive fans stay winning. Anyway. Anyway, pepperoni, right stuff. Sausage? Sausage depends. Onion is pretty good. And I have no idea what the fuck this is. So I'm just gonna leave it. Potato? Is it just potato? Who just puts chunks of potato on a pizza? Who does that? Who puts and even if that is a crouton like you're saying, who puts crouton on a pizza? I mean, flavor-wise, I don't see a problem with it, but it really wouldn't add anything to it. That's just starch on more starch. I don't get it. Garlic? Is it just garlic? If it's just garlic, then sure, great, but I don't know. This is weird. All right, moving on. Vegetables. Oh, you can't make me rate vegetables. I eat so few fruits and vegetables, and it fucking shows. Actual trash. No, what? That's not what I grabbed. Is this? That's actual trash. Beets kind of slap. Broccoli is decent. Carrots kind of slap. Cauliflower is actual trash. I really like celery. Corn is great. Cucumbers are great. Actual trash. Like onions. Peas are alright. Bell peppers are alright. No, those go there. Potatoes are god tiers. Sweet potatoes are... yeah, sure, right there. Tomatoes, you don't really eat them by themselves. And... oh, that's zucchini. That goes down there. And there you go. There's the list. You got a problem with this? You got a problem with this fucking list? Huh? Zucchini's fucking terrible. Celery sucks? What the fuck? It's like mostly water. How can you have a problem with celery? He hates nutrients. You know, actually, yeah, looking at the like top 3 here, these are basically just like water in different forms. The strings? Oh, they're not that bad. Okay, look, alright. I will give you this. Alright. I will admittedly bring celery down because raw celery is gross. You don't just eat celery alone. Celery with literally anything else is fine. It's great. Celery with ranch is great. Celery with peanut butter is great. But if you just eat regular ass celery... what do you mean, who cooks celery? It goes into, like, rice dishes. And soups. Fucking who cooks celery? You kidding me? Put that shit in, like, a gumbo? Or, like, a beef stew? You just don't eat celery by itself. Celery is an ingredient. It is not meant to be eaten alone. It is an ingredient. You don't just dump salt into your mouth. That's an ingredient. Salt and other things are good, but you don't just eat salt. Same with celery. Celery and other things is good, but you don't just eat celery. Says who? Garnish it best. Shut the fuck up. Raw celery is basically just an edible spoon. That's right. That's a good way to put it. Celery is an edible spoon. You just eat celery? I mean, that's if you like it, that's fine. I'm just saying, typically you don't just eat plain celery. Look, you getting heated too? Calm down. All right. Was celery the biggest issue on this list? Was that the thing that got people the most, like, jazzed up, was the celery opinion? The entire bottom tier makes you mad. I don't know what to tell you. Mushrooms are fucking terrible. Zucchini is fucking terrible. Cauliflower is, like... personally, it's like a texture thing. The flavor I have no major issue with, but the texture I can't get over. And in fact, let me bring this down here. Down here, yeah. And then I just don't like asparagus at all. Sometimes you can't help it, where the texture is the problem. I'm aware there's a lot of ways you can cook asparagus to make it better, but I've just never really enjoyed asparagus. Plus, it was brought up pretty much immediately that the smell when you pee after eating asparagus is fucking rancid. Any food that makes the trip to the bathroom a nightmare is not a food I care to eat. That's just how it is. Yeah, asparagus unleashes a wizard's curse on your piss. Basically. So that was that. Taco Bell does not bother me. I think the joke about Taco Bell giving people diarrhea is based on Taco Bell from like 25 years ago. It typically doesn't... I could not tell you the last time Taco Bell just like destroyed my insides. It's not that bad. Chipotle has a longer history of giving people like actual food poisoning than Taco Bell does. Yeah, after the like, what was it, like 5 solid years of like constant food poisoning outbreaks at Chipotle's, I will literally never eat there. I refuse. Tori, calm down. Alright, that's edible. What? Are you that needy for attention? You gotta interrupt what I'm saying? Christ. Have I done cereals on stream? Pancheros? What the fuck is Pancheros? Hey! What'd I tell you? I think she's yelling. Oh, you are just being an asshole, aren't you? Just wait. She's definitely not going to interrupt me. Oh, see? She's just being an asshole. You're being an asshole. She better not interrupt me again. I swear to God. We good? Alright, so anyway, I guess the next thing we could do is, what about ice cream? What the fuck is Dinosaur Crunch? I've never heard of Dinosaur Crunch. Is this a well-known thing? Or am I living under a rock? Or okay, nobody else knows what the fuck it is. All right, let's add a new row. There we go. All right, so mint chocolate chip goes in S tier. A tier. Pistachio, A tier. Chocolate, D. Vanilla, C, because it's vanilla. Rainbow sherbet, I really don't like. Now, I'll give you a second to fester on this. Give you a second to think. I'm not a mint liker. Okay, you watch your fucking mouth. I really hate mint. To the point that I won't use mint toothpaste. But mint chocolate chip ice cream is really good. There's a very few things that I'll eat mint with. Mint chocolate chip ice cream, Andes candies. Those are the 2 mint things I like. That's it. Pistachio is just good, by the way. Mint is just a toothpaste flavor. Yeah, I really don't like mint at all. In terms of taste, the smell is fine, but the taste is terrible. Alright. You worked at a gelato stand for the summer and an old man had a meltdown simply because you sold pistachio. That sounds about right. I remember when I visited Italy once and finally got to have real Italian gelato. That shit's fucking good. It's sad it's really unfortunate I'll never have it again. I do not see myself ever going to Italy again. Not because there was a problem with it. I don't see myself spending that kind of money. Because he thought the green would be apple. Oh, you thought the green would be apple. Okay, I see. He read the flavors and saw pistachio and started screaming. Boy. Anyway, cookie dough, I would like to call S tier, but at the end of the day, it's vanilla and chocolate chip with also some cookie dough in it. So it's A tier. It's still really good, but doesn't quite make it into that S tier. Yeah, I'm moving mint chocolate chip in there. I gotta be honest with myself. Strawberry, it really depends. Strawberry ice cream with real bits of strawberry in it, that's an A tier. But if it's purely artificial strawberry, I bump that down to a B. Cookies and cream, butter pecan, yes. Double chocolate, Rocky Road, Moose Tracks, banana, I've never had banana ice cream. I don't think I've ever had just banana ice cream before. I imagined in my head how it would taste, and I think probably alright. I'd probably enjoy it, so just based off assumption, I will put it in C. Probably alright, probably not something I'd want a lot, but if I saw it, I'd be like, I'll try it. Coffee ice cream's good. Really, I just like ice cream. Now, if maple walnut was in here, that'd be sitting pretty right next to mint chocolate chip. Thanksgiving foods, you know, I'll take a look at that. Oh, let's see. Turkey, the Thanksgiving turkey is always the least interesting thing about Thanksgiving to me. It depends on who's making it, how they're making it, what's put on it. All kinds of factors into a fucking turkey. So, okay. Pumpkin pie, pretty good. Apple pie, pretty good. Biscuits, no fucking thanks on the Brussels sprouts or the squash. I will fucking eat the whole can of jellied cranberry. Don't yell at me! I do not like Brussels sprouts. No. Pies are F tier, tarts are S tier. So, Christic Void out here with the fucking hard pie opinion. Green bean casserole. Nope. Cornbread. Really also depends. Oh yeah, there is no like Jello salad or ambrosia. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even notice that. That would be up here and great. Corn. Yeah, corn is as okay as it gets. You are beat up, bitch. Look, she is. She keeps interrupting me. If she wants to voice her opinions, that's all well and good, but she has to wait her turn. What's your damage, Tori? Big mouth! Big nose, big mouth! Bitch! Alright. Don't look at me like that. You know what you did. Anyway. Cranberry sauce? I don't think I've ever had regular real cranberry sauce. So based on assumptions, I will put it in okay. I've only had the jellied stuff, and I love the jellied stuff. Cranberry sauce. Aha. Cream corn, that's a fat maybe. Dinner rolls, that goes right next to the biscuits. And gravy. Oh, gravy really depends on what kind it is. Alright, this music is distracting the fuck out of me. Come on, I need something less intrusive. There we go. I don't like white gravy. That's the cream gravy. I don't like cream gravy. I don't like cream gravy. I like brown sauce. I like brown gravy. You know, the stuff that's got like the turkey's drippings in it. You know, that's the good shit. Ham S tier superior to turkey in every way. If someone makes a ham for Thanksgiving, I'm guaranteed not to eat it. Fuck ham. I get why people like it. That's just a me thing. But personally, fuck ham. Look, it's a texture thing. I'm still working on that cheeseburger. Hold on. Ham for me is a texture thing, right? Ham is always very maybe not chewy, but it's got a slippery kind of texture to it. Yeah, it's just that fleshy kind of like not good texture. Ham literally feels like I'm biting into an eraser. Like, actually, it genuinely, not taste-wise, but the texture. I dare you to take one of those pink erasers, like the rectangle ones. Bite into that. That's what biting into ham feels like to me. It's not good. You eat a lot of erasers? No, it's just I was a kid once, and a kid is gonna try biting an eraser in half. But I remember that feeling, and that's the same feeling I get from biting into ham. Plus, it's kind of slippery feeling, and then you also get fat in there, which has got that gross chewy and slippery to it. It's not good to me. The only ham you've ever had was from a Lunchables? You did not have a good ham experience, let me tell you. Lunchables ham, I think, is one step above the food, the meat they put in dog food. Yeah, I hate fat. I haven't had a steak in years because I hate fat so much. I like steak. I like steak, but if there's that fat in there, I really don't like it. I really don't like that texture. A good steak won't have fat? No, see, that's the problem is I know what a good steak is. A good steak will have fat. It will have that, not like a super thick amount, but it will be marbled with fat. A good steak is like red and white. Marbled, it looks like red and white marble. But if it's got a thick chunk, what's that strip of steak that's just like, I want to say the entire outer edge of it is just like a 2-inch thick layer of fat. That fat and that fucking gristle is like fucking terrible. I will eat 80% of that, and then that last half where it's just the sinew and the fat and the gristle is just like, give that to a fucking dog. I don't want that. A New York strip? That's probably what it is. What's my preference on the rare to well done scale? When I was younger, when I was like a kid, I would always get like well done, like really well done. But then I grew up, and now I know how much more flavor is kept in a steak if you don't cook it that much. So now I do like, if it's a burger, I'll do like medium rare, medium well, somewhere in the medium area. For a steak, I will always go medium well. So there's still a little pink in there, but I know for a fact it's nice and well cooked. You know what I mean? But I am not a rare person by any means. I don't want to bite into it and like taste the blood and feel that it was a living creature at one point. You know. If I'm in a survival situation, I'm not gonna give a fuck what I'm eating. But if I'm at a restaurant, I don't want to know I'm like eating a freshly killed animal. I'm good. I'll just feed me something and don't remind me what it is. You want to feel the creature's soul between your teeth. Well, fantastic. I've come to realize, you know what, let me finish this. Mac and cheese, that's a hard maybe. Mashed potatoes, I'll take seconds every time. Red wine, mediocre. Sparkling juice, just as good. Roast vegetables, nah. Scalloped potatoes, also great. Stuffing is great. Sweet potato casserole, great. Anyway, I've come to realize something about my palate, which is my preference seems to be salty, umami, like dry texture. I like crunchy texture. I like things that are fermented. You know, I don't really like soft, wet, like chewy, fucking like gamey. I don't really like anything like that. I don't like eating things off the bone, so I don't really like chicken wings because of it. You know, just, I don't know. I really, chicken wings especially, because I know I like chicken. I love chicken. I love the stuff they put on chicken wings. But when it's on the bone, you always get like fucking veins and shit in there, and you get the fucking like tough sinew, and like it's just no. There's that texture experience in there that just really, I can't get over it. Now, if they have boneless wings, I'm sucking them fuckers down. I love processed meat. It's very bad for me, but it's very good. So I like a good sausage. I like a good salami, pepperoni, you know, bologna. I love a lot of onis. You hate cartilage? Yeah. It really is the biggest restricting factor in a lot of things that I don't like is the texture. If the texture is like a mushroom or cartilage or fat or gristle, I guarantee you I will not even fucking try it. That, just generalize that texture, and that's what you know I will never fucking eat. It's also why I don't really like a lot of seafood. Chicken wings? Why'd you start a chicken wings poll? What's in here? Alright, whatever. Oxtail? You couldn't fucking pay me.
Hey, you!
Thank you, inverted arrow. But yeah, seafood. Like, I will not eat crab or lobster. I won't really eat any kind of shrimp. The closest I've come to liking seafood was, I remember for like a period of like a month, I enjoyed popcorn shrimp. Like the tiny little ones you get at a Red Lobster. That's it. I don't like seafood in general. I want to be better about it though. Whoa, I need a drink. It's just the texture. The texture. The texture's just not good. The memories of shrimp. Memories of shrimp. That has a shrimp. There's shrimp, popcorn shrimp, Red Lobster. This. You forgot. You thought I was really sobbing about shrimp. Oh God. That'll make a really good out of context clip. You know what a fucking good actor I am? To put myself in the right position to make that convincing sobbing, I actually just had to wipe tears away from my eyes. I'm actually really good at fake crying. I don't tend to toot my own horn on things I can do, but I'm a fucking good fake crier. Fake crying got me out of getting suspended from school once. I don't know if I've ever told that story. I might have told it on the podcast. I don't remember. Does that sound familiar to anyone here? Because I know some of you people listen to the podcast. Use that during Congress? Alright, if I'm part of something that I really want to like ham up being sad about, I will try to cry on Congress. Yeah, it's on the podcast? Okay. I don't remember what episode of the podcast, because at this point, I don't remember what the fuck I said on the podcast last month, let alone potentially a year ago. But I will tell it again. When I was a kid, what happened? For one reason or another, I got into a fight with some other kid. And by fight, I mean I threw one punch, it did nothing. They threw a punch and instantly winded me because they gut punched me. But a teacher came over, saw that we were quote-unquote fighting, and we got sent to a principal's office, and that kid got suspended, like, instantly. He got suspended. He was a dickhead. He started it, by the way. But yeah, being a streamer means I have to retell stories, it's true. But when it came time to them question me about it, I was like, crack the knuckles. All right, time to earn that Emmy. And I fucking started like just tears streaming down my face and just like, you fighting me. I don't even remember what the fuck it was about, so I can't even like fake it here. It was some stupid shit that was like when I was, I don't know, 13. I don't remember. 12. It was like 12. But You know, I had them eating out of the palm of my fucking hand. They're like, okay, all right. Well, you were in a fight, so we still have to give you Saturday school this weekend, but you're not getting suspended. It's like, okay. And I'm walking out of there with my mom, and I fucking start cackling like a little demon, like, I got out of there. I threw the first punch, and I didn't even get suspended. My whole childhood was about not learning not to do bad things. It was learning how to not get caught doing bad things. I got all the, like, being a shithead out before I was, like, 18. And now, after 18, I was like, it's alright, it's out of my system. I'm a good guy now. I was a fucking criminal. I don't remember if I've told this on stream or in the podcast or not, but when I lived in Germany, so this was like first 3 years of high school, first 2.5, yeah, 2.5, no, 3. First 3 years of high school, I lived in Germany. And, when it was, oh god. Oh, that cheeseburger's fighting me, sorry. It was Batman Arkham Asylum. When did Batman Arkham Asylum come out? Hold on. Batman Arkham Asylum. 2009. Okay, so it was probably 2010. It was like a year after that came out, I think. 2010, I wanted to play Batman Arkham Asylum. 2010, I don't got any fucking money. My parents sure as shit aren't gonna pay me to get a video game. So you know what website I go to get my new video game? Pirate Bay. This was a mistake. This was the first and only time that I got caught pirating by Square Enix with a letter and a €900 fine. Yeah. Yeah. I went into full panic mode, and that's how I learned how to wipe a computer. I fucking nuked my computer, cleaned it as best I could, which I'm sure if it was sent to a company to be inspected for whatever fucking reason, it would have been no problem to trace my path back. But I was like panicking. I was like, no, it wasn't me. It was like someone got on our Wi-Fi and they did it. And they used our Wi-Fi to download. It wasn't me. That didn't make the fine go away. Parents weren't too pleased about that. But, you know, that sucked. So I didn't pirate anything for a good number of years by torrent. I did, however, learn that I could download things in RAR files broken up into about 50 pieces. So that's how I started getting my games, which was I was trading off the luxury and risk for the safety and absolute bitch that was like putting together 15 RARs. But the lesson I learned wasn't, oh, I shouldn't pirate video games. It was, oh, I shouldn't get caught pirating video games. I didn't pirate for like probably a full year. But I did get back on that shit. And then I got old enough where I could buy my own video games, and then Steam came out with their refund policy, and then there was just very few reasons after that for me to ever really pirate games. But yeah, a good lesson I had learned as growing up as a kid was do what you want, but don't get caught. Because if you get caught, that's bad. Anyway. Remember when I was rating things? What else we got in here? Well, Among Us. Go back to the food and drinks. That's more relatable. That's a lot easier for me to picture. Top tier list for all movies. American cereal. Here we go. What the fuck? There's too many. No, there's too many. Is there? I want to do. Is there a chocolate? I want just chocolate. Just chocolate. No, what the fuck type? Brazil? Ukrainian chocolate. Yum's chocolate. Actual milk chocolate. Wait, chocolate milk, not milk chocolate. I read that backwards. That's the best. Top tier, not bad, and not good. Trash. All right, Charleston Chew, not bad. Reese's Cups, top tier. Cookie Dough Bites, nah, I'm good. Bueno, best of the best. Kinder, that fucking chocolate. I would prefer a real egg over the Kinder Joy, but they're all right too. No, in fact, you know what? Fuck that. The egg's not here, so it's going in top. Below Reese's. Hershey's Cookies and Cream, I don't know what this is, so I'll put that there. I need to add a do not, like I've never had row again. Hold on. Never had. There. Kinder Joy is better to eat? No, I like the egg better. I need to get to Canada so I can eat a real egg. That sounds really fucking stupid. Removed of all context. I need to get to Canada so I can have a real Kinder egg. Anyway, Goobers never had. Flat. Oh, that's like the Jewish chocolate, right? Like the kosher chocolate. It's like some Passover thing, I think. I don't. That was always in the kosher section. I'd never eaten it. Heath. Never had this. Kit Kats. You put that up there. Pocky. Yeah, you know, not bad. Raisinets. I love Raisinets. I know a lot of people don't like great raisins for some reason, but I love Raisinets. Snickers. Toblerone. Not bad. These are not bad either. The Turtles. I don't know. It's like been so long since I've had one. There's no Take 5. I could not tell you the last time I ate a Take 5. Butterfinger. Another like Crunch Bars. I love Crunch Bars. Hershey's is trash. Milky Way, not bad. Twix. Yeah, I think this is fair. Have I had the chocolate shaped like potato chips? I have had those. They're pretty good. I've not had them very often. I've only had them like once. They're fine. A lot of European chocolate in general is just like guaranteed to be at least okay. Even the like really shitty stuff you'd get at like $1, like a Euro store. Just their chocolate in general is just a lot better than American chocolate. And I know I get like torn apart by some people for being like, "Look, who cares? It's all chocolate." I don't know what to tell you. Like, legitimately, on average, it's just better in Europe. You don't know why everyone thinks Twix is mid? It's mid. Twix is mid. That's not a bad thing. It's not bad to be mid. I don't know why people have this aversion to being mediocre. It's okay to be mediocre. That means you're not terrible. That means somebody wants it. If people are trashing you and saying, you know, oh, this food is shit, this drink is shit, this music is shit, this art is shit, then you feel bad because people are saying it's shit. If people go, that's okay. Yeah, it doesn't feel great, but that means they don't hate you. It's okay to be mediocre. It's okay to get through high school with C's. If you handed me a Twix, if somebody walked in my room and was like, hey, you want a Twix? I'd be like, okay. That's fine. That's okay. It's not like if somebody walked in here and was like, here, you want this, like, mysterious brown substance I found outside of a dumpster? It's just a Twix. I'm not gonna, you know, like, snatch it out of their hands if they were, like I said, handing me a fucking Bueno. If someone's handing me a Bueno, I'm gonna fucking suck that down like no one's business. I should speak at graduations. I would. To all of our valedictorians, congratulations, you've done phenomenally. To everyone that's here by the skin of their teeth, you barely got good grades. You were about 5 points on your last test from failing and repeating. Congratulations, you got out of the system. At the end of the day, everyone graduated. If you're here, you're better than the people who aren't. Feel good about that. You needed to hear that? Aw, you're welcome. That was how I graduated. Well, kind of. I was all right in most of my classes, but I've told this story, I think, like half a dozen times now, but I had moved, and it was the last, like, I want to say, I don't even remember how many months. 3 to 6 months? Maybe it was like 4. It was like last few months of high school. And the history teacher for that class, his final test was based on notes that were taken throughout the entirety of the school year. So by virtue of not having been there for the whole school year, I was fucked on that final test. Because all of his questions were things that you would have the answer written down in a notebook. And I wasn't fucking there. So there was no way for me to have that information. So I passed that class with a fucking D-. I was like 2 points away from failing that class, which would have made me fail high school entirely. It's okay. The fact that I was on one side of the line and not the other is plenty enough for me. I got out of there, and that's all I fucking needed. Did I get to go to UNLV with those kind of grades? Fucking no, I didn't. I got rejected 2 days later. Did I graduate at all? Yes, I did. That's okay. Works for me. I'm doing fine. You dropped out? You got a job. Fuck it. It don't matter. If you make something of yourself, who gives a shit? If you feel like you weren't smart enough or anything, you're more than welcome to go on the internet and learn whatever you damn well please. High school is prep. It's not like a baseline. If you want to be smart, you're more than welcome to just go get smart. Nothing's stopping you. I had to, what grade was it? I had to repeat 7th grade because of, again, moving, and then it fucked up. That was on me. That one was on me because I just didn't know the information. It wasn't because, like, test was based on something that people were given except me. I just didn't know. I was dumb that year. Oh, I ran out of breath. I was just dumb that year, so I had to repeat. That's okay, too. Oh, well, you know, shit happens. Did it feel good as a kid? No. Does it matter now? This year is my 10-year anniversary of graduating high school. Do I give a shit now? Pfft, no. Like I said, don't feel bad about being mediocre. It's okay. You know what it means to be mediocre? It means you're already halfway there to being better. Right? You see what I'm saying? After graduation, you forgot 70% of high school anyway. Yeah. That's also a problem with... All right. Who here in the chat does not live in the United States? This is like this. Everyone that's not in the United States, say me, because I'd like to get a good baseline here. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, quite a few. All right, as a lot of you. I don't know how it is for a lot of you, because the education system is so fucking varied outside of the United States. The American education system is built around memorization. You're told something, you're told to remember it for a test, you take the test, you fucking forget. You don't retain any of that shit. The only information you retain in school is the information that interests you personally. Or you happen to have a good teacher that goes out of their way to make you remember things, to really retain things. The good teachers are the ones that make you fucking hold on to that information for the rest of your fucking life. And yeah, if you have ADHD, school literally is, oh, I have to put this in my brain long enough to put it down on a test, and then it goes... Because, yeah. The other problem is the homework system of... I'm going to ruin the only time of the day that a child would have to unwind and kind of think back on these things with homework that is excessive, pointless, frustrating, and ultimately leads to nothing. All the best teachers that gave me information that I still remember gave minimal homework. They made learning interesting. They were fun. They were kind. They took the time to make sure you knew what was being told to you. The shit teachers were the ones that were harsh, gave you a shitload of homework, were boring, made you feel miserable the entire time, and you didn't remember a fucking thing outside of a test. You committed hard to never doing homework and just barely graduated. See, that's similar to what like my child brain decided to do, which was, oh, I'm going to get through all of school without studying. Here we are now, and I go, what the fuck was I thinking? Why did I put that in my own head? But back then, it was like, I don't know. I was just like, well, I think studying is pointless because all this shit doesn't matter. Which I was half right. It really didn't. A lot of that shit didn't matter. But there was some stuff I should have studied. You hated studying because it didn't help you? I think that must have been what it was for me too. I feel like studying just never helped. Studying just made me frustrated and angry. You had a teacher that made you feel welcome and had fun. That's, like I said, those are the fucking teachers where you actually remember everything you were taught. Yeah, see, okay. That's what I've heard, because when I lived in Germany, the school I went to was an American school on an American base, so I didn't use the German system. But from what I remember about the German system, on the outside, it sounds kind of harsh, like very, like, just kind of tough for a kid to go through. But at the same time, every time I heard about how they actually learned anything, they were actually fucking learning. They weren't, like I said, just memorizing some bullshit to take a test and then it's just out of their head. And then, yeah, language is memorization. You do just have to memorize for literally any language. That goes without saying. There are teachers that are there for the paycheck. I don't... outside of America, maybe. In America, teachers don't get paid fuck all. So that does not apply. Teachers don't get paid a fucking thing. They get paid in peanuts. You went to a Dodd school too, and they do not give a shit about you? Oh, it really varies, because the Dodd schools actually, yeah, there are teachers there just for a paycheck and a free vacation, basically. But the Dodd schools can also have some of the best teachers that really do want to, like, go to these different places and teach kids different things to the best of their abilities. Dodd has some very high highs and low lows. Also, you can't argue with the Dodd funding. We got the fucking full CAD set up. I would not have gotten computer-aided design anywhere else in the United States. I wouldn't have had an animation class if I weren't at a Dodd school. Shout out to anyone that wants to be a teacher, by the way. I went to high school with 3 different kids who wanted to be teachers, and I know at least 2 of them are now. God bless them, because I could not deal with that shit. Kids do fucking frustrate the shit out of me. Las Vegas high schools are such ass, though. Yeah, see, going from a Dodd school to going to fucking... shout out Palo Verde. Now that I don't live in Vegas anymore, I don't mind saying that. Palo Verde, your school sucks fat cock. Fuck, those kids are stupid. There was okay, no, two good teachers at that school. There was 2 good teachers at that school. One was the English teacher that was like borderline, not quite mean to the kids. But he was, you know, it's that harsh motivational talk that you give to certain people to really, like, you know, like kind of push them to be like, oh, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. That kind of motivation, which I didn't need. I was put in that class against my will, so I didn't get that. But he was cool. He was funny. If people were on their phone, he would take their phone and put it up in the ceiling, drop ceiling. And then there was the math teacher I had, where that math class was entirely just prepping you for the final. All it was getting you done for the final, which that was good. But yeah, no, the teachers in Las Vegas, in that Las Vegas school, I'm pretty sure Nevada is like bottom 3 of the United States in terms of education. The schools there are fucking terrible. Like, shamefully bad. If you go to a school in Nevada, but Las Vegas specifically, I guarantee you are not getting an education you deserve. Bar none. No argument. That's just a fact. You are not getting a good education. And it is 50% some of the teachers' fault. The other 50% is the Clark County School District, which is fucking incompetent beyond belief. You had an English teacher that unironically kinned Pinky in the Brain. I would be asking to get put in a different class. You know one teacher in your high school that took a paycheck and ran and their class had a substitute all year? That was my high school chemistry class in junior year. I got robbed of chemistry class in high school from what was one of the best teachers in that school. because his dad died. So he went back to America, and the whole rest of that year, instead of having this badass teacher who the one thing he got to do was like take potassium and toss it into a bucket of water, and we watched it explode, we lost that teacher. And we just watched fucking David Attenborough documentaries the entire rest of the year. We didn't learn chemistry. Like, I like David Attenborough. I like his documentaries. I got robbed of chemistry education, though. 50% of my chemistry education came from fucking Nile Red. So that sucked. We're officially now onto the part of the stream where I'm just gonna talk with you guys. Let's hang out and chat. It's just chatting. I know the video aspect of this is not exciting, but just look at the candies and think. I'm preparing for... I think this is warming me up for debate. Oh, fuck. I should actually not burn out my voice. What's my favorite color? Green and blue. Not like together, but green and blue are like basically tied. Can we all agree that coaches that do history teaching on the side are awful teachers? Never experienced that personally. I had a lot, you know, I very rapidly matured between 10th grade and senior year. From sophomore and senior, it was exponential how much more I matured. I went from being a little shithead to just like, all I wanted to do was just get my work done and go home and just graduate and be done. So by the end of it, I had a lot of those teachers were like, holy shit, dude, you do not need to be here. All these other kids are like fucking around. I'm like, they're exasperating to deal with. You are like the only fucking kid around here that I do not mind being around. And I remember, you know, when you're finally starting to mature and have people treat you like that, that's like, thank you. That's what I'm saying. I don't think I ever had any gym teachers that were just outright shit. And I went to, how many high schools did I go to? Let me think. The stream's like being at a campfire sharing stories. It's nice. How many high schools did I go to? I went to 1, 2. Okay, I went to 3 high schools. I went to 3 separate high schools because I moved like a few months into freshman, and I moved the last few months of senior. And none of those years I had a bad gym teacher. Middle school, I didn't have a bad gym teacher. I don't remember anything about elementary. I don't remember anything about elementary. Oh, no, I kind of do. I'm thinking. Oh, I'm digging into the memories. Oh. I don't think I had an issue with any gym teachers in any of my elementary schools. I went to several elementaries, and I don't remember. No, I never had an issue with gym teachers. I'm trying to think of the teachers I did fucking despise. The easiest one to remember was in high school. Freshman year, there was a biology teacher who, it turned out, every single year, kids in her class would try to find a reason to get her fired. And I remember it cracking me right the fuck up senior year, like a couple months before I was gonna move, walking past some kids that were coming out of her class, hearing those kids, those freshmen, talking about how they were gonna get her fired. And it was fucking hilarious. Because it's like, holy shit, nothing changes. That woman was a bitch. She was a wretched bitch. I hope she's dead. Alright, I don't hope she's dead, but I do bet she's dead. She was like this horrible, horrible cunt that was like... She would ask you a question, and if your answer was not one-to-one what she had in mind, it was wrong. There was no mostly right. There was no basically right. There was no right but differently worded. There was, your answer is my answer or it's not right. And she would pick, almost at random, one kid out of her class to just be the fucking teacher's pet, whether they liked it or not. Because I remember her picking some girl that I knew that sat like right next to me, where that kid was always right. Everything she said was always right. She could do whatever she wanted. And that kid was embarrassed to high fucking heaven by it because she fucking also hated that teacher and did not like getting that attention. And like I said, every single year, kids would try to get her fired. I think half the teachers also didn't like her, if I remember correctly. Hold on, what happened? Someone had a story. One of your English teachers shushed you for coughing in class. You had bronchitis. 1, that's shitty of them. 2, why were you in school with bronchitis? You should have stayed home. Who else sucked? Okay, there was oh my god, I even remember his name. Mr. Sarikoff was a teacher I had in 5th grade? Yeah, 5th grade. Mr. Sarikoff was a teacher I had in 5th grade. The dude had a cadence of like a word a minute. He spoke so slowly and monotone that it was about to put you to sleep anytime he had anything to tell you about what he was saying, and if you were listening at all, it was just a complete nightmare. It was horrible. And he was an asshole to boot. But the only thing that made me not hate him as much was like 2 years later in 7th grade. Yeah, that sounds about right. Katrina had just happened. We had like a memorial thing that we were doing. We went out to our middle school courtyard. There's like a big flag, you know, we were doing a memorial thing, and he was there for that for one reason or another. And between me getting out of elementary and getting into middle school and getting into 7th grade, he had his foot lopped off because of diabetes. And I remember thinking like, oh, now I feel bad for you. Never mind. So that guy ended up getting a pass. He was old. He was not like someone in his 40s. He was like 60s, maybe going on 70s. So he got a pass. You had a... That's fucked. I'm not even going to say that out loud. That sucks. Hus foot cut loose. Great. Yeah. He was asked to leave? Well, no shit. That's good. Oh no! This sad music made me remember the most tragic thing that happened in school. It was like middle school and oh god, I don't even remember what she taught. I also don't remember her name, which really sucks. I had a teacher that I really liked. She was very nice. She was fun. Again, she was a very nice, fun teacher that you actually learned things in her class. Wish I could remember what she taught. But, I remember, it was Friday. It was like a Friday. It was the last class. She was the last class of the day. You know, we're like, everyone leaves. We're like, bye. I'll see you next week. Weekend goes by. We come back Monday. And the first thing we hear before any classes even start is there will be a memorial in the gym for that fucking teacher. It's like, what? She fucking died over the weekend. I was like, no, what? I just saw her on Friday. I was not like bawling sad, but I was like, no, that's tragic. No. That sucked so bad. Nobody disliked her. She was a nice teacher, so that fucking sucked for everybody. Yeah, that was sad. I think I still had... She was like giving away a bunch of like bullshit in her class. It was like excess like school supplies and just shit she had in like her closet in there one day. I think I still have like a book rack. Like a tiny little book rack that I got from her class kicking around. I think I've purposely made sure I didn't throw it away all these years. I really wish I could remember her name. It really sucks that I can't. Because like I said, I have that memento. I remember the situation. But I've always been so bad with names, I cannot fucking remember her name. But I have it in her memory. This music's making this so much worse. Do I have a yearbook? No. That was just 7th grade. There was no yearbook or anything. Check the school website. Oh, that's a big fat maybe. I would have to check the Wayback Machine. Something else that kind of sucked was the school I went to was in that middle school I went to was in Panama City. For my own sake, I won't specify which middle school it was. But when that hurricane went through a few years ago, Michael, what year was that? That was like 2018, I think. Yeah, when that hurricane went through there, like fucking the eye of the whole fucking storm, it ended up being Cat 5 on landfall. When that went through there, it fucked shit up. And I remember looking at the street view that went through there, because I had a street view, I think maybe 2 weeks after the fact. And it was so fucking unfortunate to see like these places that I have some pretty strong memories of just fucking wiped out. Just destroyed. There was a gym that I had a lot of memories in, and then seeing it like 90% destroyed, just like one wall that was still standing. I was like, oh hey, I get to see the inside one more time before it's demolished. That's nice at least. There was a tree I remember smelling like rotten milk and dead animals. The stink tree. That was like it didn't fall down, but it was like beaten to shit. I think they tore it up. You know, just like, you know, there's all kinds of like really just things I remember just being fucked. Yeah, rest in peace, stink tree. I won't miss your smell, but I will miss you, I guess. Is like that with you with Jersey Shore after Sandy? Yeah, I would imagine. When you were in the first grade, your teacher showed your art to the class of how not to draw. That's fucked. And you're happy that you didn't give a fuck what they said because you're now still drawing and doing commissions. That's great. Good to hear. Fuck the haters. I have heard a lot of bad stories about art teachers. Art teachers seem to be like 4 out of 5 are just total assholes. Is that just in what I've heard? Is that just my experience, or does that about line up with everyone else?
Go with many blessings.
Hey, there you go. You got a free sub. Okay, everyone's saying it sounds it about lines up. You're either amazing or horrible. Okay, yeah. They're elitist a lot of the time. Yeah, I get the feeling a lot of art teachers have this feeling of like, I'm teaching art, therefore I'm a fucking art genius, and these children are below me. You know. What? You're teaching high school art, get over yourself. You're teaching elementary art, get over yourself. You're teaching middle school art, get over yourself. If you don't have a PhD, go fuck yourself, basically. Don't try to act like you're high and mighty and a fucking... like you're about to get your next art project put in the Louvre. I never had the personal experience of that. I didn't personally have a bad art teacher. I didn't have very many art teachers to begin with. But my sister had that issue in elementary of all places, like third, fourth grade, of an overly critical art teacher where it's like, you're just a bully at that point. You're just like, grow up. My voice is giving out. I know you can hear it. I know everyone can hear my voice going out. Whoa, shit. Don't worry, I'm going to be able to rest before Congress. It's okay. Government teacher still has George Washington with shades and a giant eagle. The explosions that you painted for extra credit hanging in front of his classroom. That's fucking great. That's great. Having a scratchy voice will really sell the fake crying. You know, if I need it, that's true. I'm gonna put something on the screen here real quick. Do I have any text? I do. Okay. There. Now people know. We've been just chatting for I think like 45 minutes, but that's okay. Came back to see Bueno at the top. Yeah. Shout out to Bueno. Shout out to that whole company. Their chocolate's really good. Teacher got ALS. That's sad. I had a really nice, I've ever tried Milka. Milka's okay. I had a really nice German teacher. She wasn't German, she taught German. But I had a lot of good experiences in that class. It's just unfortunate that at that time I was also like being sick a lot, so I missed like, fuck, I would say 40% of school. Just like refusing to go. But I enjoyed her class. There was a kid who did a project about like Germany has like this Christmas pickle thing. It's a whole deal. I'm not going to get into it. But the kid at the end of his little slideshow presentation about it, he had like a big image that he must have pulled right off of Google Images that said "tickle my pickle." And the whole fucking class is laughing at him, including the fucking teacher. She's like, "Do you understand what that means?" And the kid's like, "No, why is everyone laughing?" She's like, "Don't worry about it. Just sit down." She's like, "Don't worry about it. Just sit down, but don't do that again." That kid was super oblivious. He was like probably the most oblivious kid I knew. He wasn't dumb. He just was like things constantly went over his head. Yeah, it was endearing. Here's a question for the entire chat out there. Did you ever know somebody during school who was so fucking dumb that it physically pained you to hear them speak? And it wasn't just like they needed to go to school more dumb. It was like just pure, like, vile stupidity of like, I want you to stop talking and never open your mouth again. Yes. Not endearing. I'm not talking endearing dumb. I'm talking like, shut the fuck up, you idiot dumb. Yes. Okay, there's a lot of people saying yes. Oh, there's a lot of yes. Okay, so everyone knew that guy. Okay. Yeah, I remember a kid who, anytime he opened his mouth, it gave me a headache. Yeah. I'm glad everybody had that experience. 2/3 of the classes in high school. That was a little bit of like my very last English class in high school. Those like, half those kids were dumb and they couldn't help it, and half those kids were dumb and it was just because they were stupid assholes. College? I'll never understand people who go to college and then just fuck around. Like, bro, you're paying to be there. It's one thing to fuck around in like high school where it costs you nothing except, quote unquote, your education. Why the fuck are you gonna go to some place where you're basically putting yourself in debt? Parents' money? Yeah. Yeah. It's always the kids that their parents are paying for it, I suppose. You know, 30-year-old guys that work like that. I mean, shit. I mean, I was talking specifically during school. There's plenty of people like that out in the world as adults. That's like 50% of the United States. Music! More music! Oh, man. A dude in college graphic design almost got kicked out of college because he vaped in class multiple times. Fucking numbnuts. I remember in high school, there was a kid who... She got a B on some test or another. She got a B, and she broke into tears. She fucking was crying. She was inconsolable over this B. And in that moment, I remember thinking, oh, big deal, you got a B. Get the fuck over it. I'm happy if I get a C, let alone a B. You know, fucking grow up. In retrospect, that kid's parents was probably fucking them over hard with their expectations. See, now as an adult, now I feel bad for them. Because I can probably ascertain the situation. I don't think any kid holds themselves in that high of an esteem that they have to get an A of their own volition. It's always some kid's parents are like, you have to get fucking straight A's or you are just wasting our time. You were that kid? Okay. You had a friend that cried when she got an A-, not an A+. That's real harsh. You know what sucked at school being an art kid in a group project where there was drawing aspect. You know what sucked in school was being part of a group project and being the only one that wants to fucking get it done. That was the real shit. When you get stuck with like, oh, it's a group project. Maybe it's it was you, a friend, and then like the guy no one else wanted a project or was just given to your group. And you and your friend would get your work done, and that other kid would just fucking do nothing, or a mooch, or just like, you know, just a waste, just like a pain in the ass. Or if it was like doubling up, like you get a partner and it's some kid you don't care about, you do all the work and they do fuck all, and you get a bad grade because they did fuck all. You got the Geico portal ad. Great. You had a college partner who did genuinely fuck all and they made you keep them? That sucks. Fuck. Yeah, that really sucks. The kid that no one wants to pick is not always guaranteed to be the kid that does fuck all in a project. It's just, if it's a kid that always does fuck all in a project, they tend to not get picked. There's not a square. A rectangle is not a square, but a square is a rectangle. It's one of those situations, you know what I mean? Hold on, I saw someone say something interesting. What was that? What'd you say? Hold on. Stop talking, I'm trying to see. College had a lot of international students who were literally only there for an American degree, and they were the worst in group projects. They did not care or try. Sucks. What'd you say? What did you have to say? Hold on. I'm trying to read my wonderful chat. No one gave you anything to do? See, that's different. If no one's giving you anything to do, me personally, I'd be like, all right, cool, works for me. But if you like actually wanted to work on it, that I could imagine being really frustrating. Whoa, I keep dropping this coaster. Ah. Hey, could you put that on a coaster?
Go with many blessings.
Nice. Undefined. Hey, there's a broken banana in there. Get that guy out of here. Hype train is close? Why? All right. I'm gonna take this off the screen. I'm gonna do another couple tier lists here. Let's see. Oh my gosh, my voice. Hey there. Hey guys. What is that voice reminding me of? Who does this sound like? What does that remind me of? Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Oh, you were just shy of that train. Or I'll say, that's right, my Mercedes-Benz. That's right, that's what I remember it from. Salad finger. I'm Rouse from Deltarune. Alright, why is there a whole Genshin Impact section? That's stupid.
Oh, shit.
Whoa, thanks, Lixa. Thank you very much. Anime tier list. 300 plus anime? That's quite a few. Let me see. What do we got here? Naruto? How many characters are they gonna have? Oh, I recognize some of them. Saiyan transformations. Fuck it, whatever. Let's see. Now, I need to give myself a rule for this because I could do it based on what's stronger, what's cooler. I'm gonna do the ones I like the most. I really like the ape. His buff form is kind of... This is stupid. I already didn't like this. It felt really mind-numbing to sit there and try to rate that shit. I like dropped an IQ point and knew that it was already time to bail. Let me go back. Oh, this is someone's stupid video. Fuck off, idiot. Video games. Love knowing nothing about Dragon Ball. Watch Dragon Ball. There's nothing wrong with it. I like Dragon Ball. I feel like I've done the controllers one before. All Halo games? Sure. Well, that was easy. That was a very easy tier list. Overwatch diversity scaling tier list. Oh, this is purely for the multiplayer aspect, by the way, not for the single player. If we're talking single player, we're talking like down there. But the multiplayer puts it there. Is that fair? I think that's fair. I have far more better memories of playing Halo on fucking Blood Gulch than I do of playing the campaign. I've played the campaign like twice. Once when it was not new. Once in like 2011, 2010. And then once like a couple of years ago when Master Chief Collection came out on PC. Halo 1 is half of a good game. Whatever, Rex. Whatever. Whatever, dude. I've not done a lot of Halo co-op. I played some of Halo 2 co-op. I played most of Halo 1 co-op. That's it. I've never done Halo 3 co-op. I never did ODST co-op. I never did Reach co-op. I'd like to play Halo 3 co-op. I would like to play Halo 3 co-op. Scorpy wants to play it at some point. Wayne, you're here. Good. Wayne, do you want to play Halo 3 co-op with Scorpy sometime? Because I know that's, what, 4 people? I've never gotten a chance to do it. And I know Scorpy wants to. You have to answer me. No? Fuck you. Alright, that's going to Congress. I'm taking that to Congress. I'm gonna petition. Probably not. What do you mean probably not? Fucking whack ass. I am petitioning at Congress for Wayne to play Halo 3 with me and Scorpy. And you're gonna eat those words. Clip that. Clip that and save me the trouble. Elden Ring bosses. Let me rate these Elden Ring bosses. By the way, spoilers for Elden Ring. Halo single player is more nostalgia than you want to actually play. Come on, man. Come on. You don't want to relive those moments? You don't want to relive those funny moments? Halo 3 is a good game. Alright. It was alright. That was a great fight. I really like that one. I'm actually having a hard time. These icons are really low res. Fuck you. Fuck you. Yeah, maybe very good. These icons are so low resolution. These are equal. Fuck you, Fire Giant. Both Moog's good. He was pretty... Well, not that high. He's pretty good. That's just a mimic. That's okay. It was alright. Where is... There's gonna be a lot of, like, okay ones. It's okay. It's okay. Top 5. Where's Beast? Where's the Beast? Fuck these guys. Can anyone... Oh, I don't see it. Fuck this bitch. That was mediocre. Very good. I have these... I cannot... I feel like I have astigmatism and I can't fucking see anything. Is this the dragon or is this the serpent? Oh no, this is the serpent. Alright. Who the fuck is this? Like, that's great. Crumbling Pharaoh Dragon. I like can't even remember these ones. Oh, I see. That's Godric. We bump. No, you're not very... Yeah. And for a first-time experience, that was incredible. Because it was like... hitting this wall. Put these guys solidly in the I really don't give a shit category. And there you go. These icons are just so blurry. I seriously felt like there was something wrong with my eyes. Oh my god. You want to see something ridiculous? Where is... Okay. Actually, I probably can just search. Can I just search BNH? Okay, is this gonna have... No. I want you to see how ridiculous... Hold on. Maybe I can just search My Hero. I want you to see how ridiculous this shit is. No, that's not enough. What if I search My Hero All? Yeah, okay, here we go. Look how fucking ridiculous this is. Look at this. Look at this. You know the worst part? This is like... If this was One Piece, at least like, I don't know, 75% of these pictures would be somebody that could be like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so, that's blank, that's that guy. Oh, they were kind of interesting, they were kind of shit, but they would be definable. I would know who it was, probably, or I would at least recognize them. I don't know who half of these motherfuckers are. I don't know who that is. I don't know who, like, I don't know who that is. Who the fuck is this? Who's that? Who's this? Who's that? Who's this? That? I don't know who the fuck any of these people are. Who the fuck is this? That? Like, half these characters are fucking nothing. Some of these aren't from even the main manga. Now, see, I actually just caught up on the Vigilante manga last night. I didn't realize the final chapter comes out next week when I read it, but that's good for me. So I know some of these side characters from that manga. Like, I recognize this guy from it. I recognize this guy from it. Yeah, no, the final chapter comes out next week. This guy's from it. She's from it. But I like... Yeah, who the fuck is this? That's Carl Pilkington with hair. I don't give a fuck about half of these characters. I stopped reading this shit because My Hero has a problem with having a story that the moment it starts to get kind of interesting, oh, hold on, we have to stop everything. We have to talk about this one character's backstory for about 5 chapters. Thank you. I know we're in the middle of the main plot. Don't worry about it. We gotta know who this person is. Okay? Whatever, sure. All right, I guess. All right, their backstory's done. All right, back to the main plot. All right, 2 chapters go by, 3 chapters go by. Now, can we hold on for a second? Because this guy's backstory is very interesting. Fuck off. If you had 6 characters you wanted to do that with through the entire thing, all well and good. But look at this. You got too many fucking characters to be doing that shit with. We're like in the final stretch. This guy's just Godzilla. That just hit me. Anyway, we're in the final stretch of this manga. And they still have the gall to, like, be in the middle of something and then stop it for 2 chapters to tell a backstory and then get right back to where they were again. Please, please stop, for the love of God. This person thought that... Who's the fucking motherfucker that writes My Hero? Yeah. Koei? One Piece wasn't popular because it had a lot of fucking characters. One Piece is popular because it has a lot of fucking interesting characters. You just have a lot of fucking fluff. Blowing your ass up. Half these characters are bland as fucking paper. That's just how I feel. Let me show you, like, yeah, hold on. One Piece, all characters or something like that. Let's see. This isn't even all characters. 450 characters. Popular because fan service. I believe that. Now, I won't lie, One Piece also does have a lot of people where if you point it out, I'll say, I don't know who the fuck that is. But if you show me who it is and what their deal is, I'll go, oh, that's interesting, or they're cool. I like that. No, not with My Hero. 9 times out of 10, you point out who they are, and I go, Okay, whatever. I don't remember every One Piece character, and I won't even pretend I do. But whenever they're there in the story, they're there, they have a reason to be there, they're interesting while they're there, and then they're gone, and they don't fucking come back. That's the other problem is My Hero will have someone show up, they're there for 5 minutes, they leave, and then 40 chapters later, they come back, and you're meant to remember who the fuck they are, and you're meant to care. And I just don't. I just do not care. And they don't stop for every single person's backstory. That's right. They didn't stop for him. They didn't stop for her. She barely exists. She's one of the, like, she's like a major character. She barely exists. So, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. What? Losing my mind. Oh, Subnautica creatures. This is gonna be the last one. I'm starting to get tired.
Hey, you!
Whatever it is, it's S tier.
Whatever it is. I don't even know what this is supposed to be. I don't know what that's supposed to be. These guys are assholes. I don't... There's also the ice ones in here, and I don't... Ice World, I don't remember. I didn't play enough of it to... Well, I basically finished it, but I didn't really absorb a lot of it. This is the baby Yoda of Subnautica. They added something cute and I meant to give a fuck about it, but I don't. I'm not into cutesy things. That's just not my deal. Reginald. I still remember that thing's name, Reginald. No. Where's the other one? Right there. Okay. Don't care. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Roughly. You have a big fear of Subnautica? I really do love Subnautica, but it is one of those games where once you've kind of like seen it all and done it all, a lot of the charm kind of disappears, which is really sad. It's a great first time game. It's one of those games where if you could like forget your first time with it, you would, because it's great to experience it for the first time. Unfortunately, I played it when it was pretty new. I watched it as it developed. I saw how the sausage was made. I've played it to the end a couple times. So now, like I said, a lot of that charm has just kind of dissipated. You know, now it's kind of just like a framework. I'm not super scared because I know where things are. I know what things do. I know the limitations. I know the end goal. I know what happens start, middle, and end. The mystery is a good part of it. And once the mystery's gone, you're just not left with a lot afterwards. It is very relaxing though, if in the right situation. I appreciate Subnautica quite a bit. I hear you over there. You'll get your attention in a little bit. It's really surprising to me how many people are just like completely mortified by the deep sea. It's just deep water. I mean, I also really am not a fan of like being on deep water, but the concept of it, it's okay. We're gonna wait for the next one to be done to continue it. It is done. Been done for a year now, I think. Yeah. The problem with it was I basically beat it. I was in the area where the finale of that game would take place. It just, the finale wasn't there yet. And unfortunately, I really do not have a lot of desire at the moment to go through those steps again. Just to like get that final 1% of the game. You know what I mean? Maybe someday. But that's just not in the books for me right now. Oh my god, Tori, calm down. Alright, what are people saying about their fear? It's not knowing what's in the water. I mean, sure, I guess. I don't know. I feel like in the deep sea, there's no more creature. Tori, calm down. There's no more dangerous things in the deep sea than there are like 20 feet deep. You know what I mean? If anything, it's more dangerous in the 20 feet of water than it is in the 200,000 feet of water. Just the disorientation, kind of. The water itself, I can get that, I guess, yeah. Yeah, it is pretty interesting. I've always found that interesting, that it's easier, more cost-effective, and safer to leave and re-enter the atmosphere than it is to get to the bottom of the ocean. It turns out water is really fucking heavy, and it's really hard to maintain an atmosphere inside of a vessel and keep it from crushing itself. You know what I mean? It's phenomenally hard to get to the bottom of the ocean. It's really easy to have no pressure on a ship, plus and minus getting in and out of the atmosphere. It's really hard to have a whole ocean sitting on top of you. Yeah. Well, I'm tired and I have things I'm doing later. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up here real quick. We'll do a quick BRB, I think, and then we will read our credits, and then we will raid somebody. And then we'll raid somebody, maybe Rousey. All right, I'll be right back. Oh no, the test credits are running. All right. So, let us read these real credits here. Roll them. Roll the real credits. The real people, the real motherfuckers. Title, subtitle, donators. Okay. It's a little bit fucked up. That's okay. The real people are there though. So, let's see. I gotta scroll down a little bit here. Oh, let's see. Male wife, thank you for 21 months. Oh, geez, I don't know. 9 months. Killer lesbian, 19 months. Enamed, 10 months. Clown Limes with a gift sub. Butler Kitty, 100 bits. Painter Skies, 23 months. Clown Limes, 15 months. Clown Limes with a gift sub. Reneth's Room. I hope I said that right. Latch Croc, 6 months. Nisak Tango, 3 months. Elk Turtle, 17 months. Inverted Arrow, 5 months. The Anonymous Gifter to a Method of Madness. Mr. Peepers, and another anonymous gift to Chili. Clown Limes with the gift sub. Lixa with the 5 gift subs. And Professor Pangloss with the 13 months. So next week should probably be another normal week, unless weather or something change or plans change one way or another. Just expect probably a normal week next week. I know she's going off. She's really going off right now. The merchandise is still going. You have until the end of the day on the 31st to get your stuff. I may extend it. We will see. It depends on how things go. But as of now, just Tori, jeez, just right now, just assume you only have a few days to get it. That's what, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 11 days. You got 11 days. How about, I was looking at people to raid. I kind of want to raid. I don't know. Let's raid Lil Karibo again. I think he deserves a little bit. All right. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for the support. Thank you for your attention for the last, I don't know, 3 hours. I hope you guys will be on Bulp stream tonight, watching that. In the meantime, y'all have a good day. Oh, I never unmuted for the music. Whatever. Fuck it. Who cares? Have a good day.